Coming up on Mountain News this morning, several high-profile bills are brought up by state lawmakers during the final day to final new legislation for this year's General Assembly session. And a bill that could impact transgender youth in the state moves forward in the state capitol.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning to you. Today is Thursday. Is today Thursday? It is Thursday. I'm Dakota May. Chris, good morning to you.
Too far ahead.
Let's take it over to Brandon for a look at that forecast.
Friday Eve.
Yeah, it is. Man, I don't know what I thought today was. You know what it is? It's these warm temperatures that are messing me up.
Listen, we don't even know what month it is right now.
No. I love waking up and it's springtime.
Listen, I was telling you off air just a minute ago, I drove to work with the window down this morning. It was so warm.
Yeah.
So it was crazy. When I finally got to the station, stepped out of the car, it was starting to sprinkle a little bit. So I managed to get the door without my umbrella, but you're going to need them in the southern counties this morning. And some rumbles of thunder out there too this morning. Let's take a look, see what's going on live pinpoint Doppler radar anywhere along this line where you kind of see it bowing out. Give me just a second, I'll draw it for you. If you're in these areas, you're probably going to see some pretty good wind, probably going to hear a rumble of thunder. So all that is kind of moving off to the south and east. So Hazard, getting ready to see that over toward Manchester, Hyden, down toward Barberville, Williamsburg, Whitley City, Pikeville, getting ready to see that. Prestonsburg, probably already seeing it there. So Hindman, places like that, and then eventually move into parts of southwest Virginia a little bit later on this morning, okay? So just keep that in mind as we go forward here this morning. So let's take a look and see what's coming up next with temperatures, and you see, well, hold on here. Why are you giving me problems today? It's already giving me grief. Come on. Well, I'll just hit the space bar then. I bet the batteries are dead in this thing. All right, so 70s out there this morning in Hazard, Manchester, Harlan, and Jacksboro over to Grundy, too. They were a cold spot yesterday. Now they're one of our warmer spots, but you see behind the rain there. 59 Urban, 57 Moorhead, and 58 in Ashland. Look at the difference from this time yesterday. Richmond, 2 degrees colder, many spots almost or double digits at least, but some spots almost 20 degrees warmer than yesterday. This is why the wind's still coming out of the southwest there, cranking anywhere between 5 and 17 miles per hour this morning. That's consistent wind speed, so just be aware of that. Out the door forecast, rain will be around for a little while, and then I think we see some clearing as we head deeper into the day. It's going to be a warm day again. We could tie or break some more records. Dakota?
All right, Brandon, thank you. Wednesday was the final day to file new legislation to be considered for this year's General Assembly session. A high-profile sports betting bill was among the last bills to be filed in the House. There's also a medical marijuana bill to be considered. WYMT's Phil Pendleton has more on what lawmakers have to sort through in the next few weeks.
Hundreds of bills have been filed for this year's session. 3 have been signed into law, including one that lowers income taxes, and there's 3 weeks to consider others. Senator David Yates hopes one of them is a sports betting bill.
There are some members that worry about the evils of gambling, and what I tell to them is your failure to act and pass this legislation doesn't get rid of gambling. It's all around Kentucky. It's online.
Ohio is among the latest red states to approve sports gaming. The House approved it last year but could not get enough support in the Senate. Some believe the tide is changing there too.
It's a more narrowly tailored sports betting bill than we've seen in the past, and I hope they can pass it in the House, and then I'll, like I did last year, make the case for it here in the Senate.
The Senate could also take up medical marijuana. A Republican has filed Senate Bill 47 that awaits a hearing.
This will help them. We're the #1 state for cancer, so there's a lot of cancer patients that may benefit from this.
The bill would only allow edible marijuana and not the kind that you would smoke.
Never thought I'd see the day where we're having this conversation, but here we are in 2023 with an issue that enjoys 85% approval among the public.
Mayor also says he wants to see a ban on gray games, which he says are a threat to legal gambling of pari-mutuel, charitable, and the lottery. In Frankfort, Phil Pendleton, WYMT Mountain News.
Well, the session will end March 30th, but lawmakers will want to pass most bills by March 16th to ensure their veto power is still available. Kentucky is one step closer to becoming a so-called Second Amendment sanctuary state. Yesterday, the House passed House Bill 153. It would prohibit Kentucky from enforcing a federal ban or regulation on firearms. House Bill 153 passed the House with a vote of 78 to 19. The bill now goes to the Senate. HB 153 is essentially a second try for lawmakers. In 2022, the bill passed through the House but never made it out of a Senate committee. A Lexington lawmaker introduced a bill on abortions yesterday. Representative Lindsey Burke says the legislation would expand abortion rights in Kentucky. Right now, almost all are banned, including in rape and incest cases. Advocates want more exceptions. Burke admits it will be an uphill battle to get this bill a hearing before a Republican-dominated legislature. And another bill targeting transgender youth in Kentucky is moving forward in Frankfort. House Bill 470 would prohibit gender-affirming care for anyone under the age of 18. Doctors who prescribe hormonotherapy or other gender transition services could lose their license to practice medicine. Anyone who fails to report gender transition services could also be charged. Schools would also be required to inform parents if a child expressed any inconsistency between their sex and gender, and a minor would be unable to legally change their name if they are transitioning. The bill has been assigned to the House Judiciary Committee. Attorney General Daniel Cameron was in London yesterday for the grand opening of his Laurel County field office. Funding for the regional office was approved during the 2022 legislative session. The field office will be located in the London State Office building, which houses a number of other state agencies and is near Kentucky State Police Post 11. The Attorney General's office also has a location in Prestonsburg. Transportation crews are working to repair many roads damaged by last week's flooding. Well, back in July, many of these same roads were damaged during the historic flood, but the recent weather has caused a few more steps to be added to some projects. With all of these crews out and about, the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet wants to remind drivers to be careful around work sites.
We always tell them to be vigilant and keep an eye out and pay attention, but when you're working and you're focusing on something, it's sometimes hard to see everyone else. So we ask that the public, take a little responsibility on that and help, keep our guys safe when they are out there working.
Well, despite the recent flooding, KYTC District 12 says it will push forward to ensure the safety of those traveling Kentucky's roads. Another historic flood more than 50 years ago was discussed last night at Hazard Community and Technical College. The February 26, 1972 Buffalo Creek disaster in Logan County, West Virginia, killed 125 people and left thousands homeless. It happened when a coal slurry impoundment collapsed. The HCTC Humanities faculty hosted a showing of 2 award-winning Appalshop documentaries about the disaster, followed by a discussion with the director. They talked about the similarities and differences from that disaster to July's flood here in eastern Kentucky and the mental health impacts and housing issues following disasters. Well, thank you so much for getting your warm Thursday morning started with us here on Mountain News this morning. Coming up next, a giant winter storm stretches from coast to coast, threatening millions of Americans with power outages and roads impossible to drive on.
And we shattered temperature records yesterday. Can we do it again today? I'll have the latest forecast and track that rain for you in about 3 minutes.